Hi everybody, my name is Beverly Vessella and I'm the product manager at Pixvana, and today I'm super excited to show you a walkthrough of our newly released Cloud Stitcher for 360 video. That's available to our early adopters. As you know, Pixvana is building this end-to-end cloud platform for shepherding the authoring and delivery of 360 video. And we're trying to address all the pain points associated with making 360 video by putting this platform in the cloud so that all the processing time and expensive machinery can be farmed out on a platform instead of having to be physically in your studio. So to date, what you can do at Pixvana is you can upload your VR masters that are fully stitched, color corrected and trimmed, and however you want to post-process them into the cloud using our uploader, and they look like these videos down here. And you can readily encode those and share those to any headset across the world with just a couple of clicks. And your viewers can see that back via streaming or high-quality download. And we're taking that one step further now by allowing our users to upload their raw sources from their cameras into the cloud. We will do the stitching for you and allow you to make adjustments to color and horizon and later on gear patching and trimming to make sure that your clips are ready to go before they get put into a full-length film in our native story tools that we'll be releasing later this year. So what I'm going to show you today is really just the stitcher part, and what we'll come out with is a fully rendered clip like one of these that's ready to share with your audience. So what I've done here is uploaded these 6 sources, and you can do that via this upload button up here at the left. This brings up a window which lets you download the desktop application that's the uploader. Because we're dealing with such large files, normally the best way to do that was to create a separate application to really expedite those uploads. So once you download it and install it, you sign into the uploader with the same credentials as your SPIN Studio account. And then you go ahead and just drag your media into the window, and they very quickly appear here in your library. You'll notice that these have a button on top of them that says Set Media Details. Normally, you would use this to let us know the exact settings you want for encoding your 360 video if it was already a fully mastered scene, already stitched and everything. But for raw sources, this isn't really relevant, so you don't need to go through this dialog. And you can go ahead and stitch without needing to set the media details. So as a best practice, I've uploaded these videos and I want to put them in a folder. I'm going to name this Cafe at Winery because this is a scene from a cafe down in Napa Valley. I'll create that. There's my folder. And then I'm going to select my 6 sources here and just move them in so I can keep track of them there. And there they are. So now in order to stitch them, I'm going to go to my Prep tab here at the top. It says Prep Beta. And we call this Prep because this is where we intend our users to prepare all their media and not necessarily just stitch it. We will support 180 cameras that just have two lenses, one for each eye, and those just get kind of de-fisheyed and composited so that they can play back in stereo. And that doesn't have any stitching component to it. So as a general term, it's really about preparing media. This is where you adjust your preview scene. It's where you can patch in the gear in the future and do trimming so that all your media is ready to go for the stories. So I'm going to go ahead and create a stitch. I'll call this Cafe at Winery for consistency. And that brings me to this scene, and this is essentially a new prep project. Here I'm in the Sources tab, and there's some settings here for frame rate and mono, which actually will populate once it reads the sources that I will add to this project. In the camera sources section, I have a choice of choosing which camera rig I'm stitching from. Currently, we have 3 supported: the GoPro Omni, Insta360 Pro, and Zcam V1 Pro. And just to go over these really quick, the GoPro Omni has a kind of cubic formation with 1 lens on each face, so 6 lenses total. The Insta360 Pro has lenses all around the equator and also has 6 total, which is very similar to the layout of the Zcam V1 Pro, which actually has a few more lenses. And I also wanted to bring up the Candau Obsidian model camera, which has 6 lenses around the equator as well. We actually support stitching this camera model right now, but we don't have a little drop down for it in SPIN Studio. So if you have this footage and you want to stitch with it, just go ahead and choose GoPro Omni. That should work just fine. Coming soon, we are working on being able to stitch footage from the GoPro Fusion. And this is a 2-lens camera, 1 on each side of the camera, that both kind of shoot a 180 degree view. And also the Zcam K1 Pro, which is a 180 camera. So as time goes on, we'll be supporting more and more cameras within the prep module in SPIN Studio. Today I'm stitching footage from the Insta360 Pro, so I'll go ahead and choose that. I'm going to add my videos that I put into this folder here. Select them and click Add. And very quickly it loads the preview. Now, sometimes when you add the videos, the preview might be syncing for a few seconds or up to a minute or two, and that is when the system is doing the calibration process. Within Pixvana SPIN Studio, we're using the NVIDIA VRWorks 360 Video Stitcher SDK, and that works by finding features within the source videos and matching them together to create a composite image. Sometimes the calibration will think for a few minutes and it might come back and ask you to retry. And that's because right now we are sending just a single frame to be calibrated, and that frame might have sources that were shot with different focal lengths, and so it might not find a feature match that's good enough to return back to you, and we'll give you the opportunity to retry. And you would click down here at the bottom left to retry this if that happens. We're working on a better model for doing this to send multiple frames to the calibration processing so that we can pick the best feature matching score to send back to you, and it won't come back and ask you to retry then. So this one finished quite quickly. As you can see, it's upside down. So I can go ahead and drag on this preview like I can do in other stitchers, and find a way to level the horizon. And in doing that, we've given you a few tools to help with this process. I'm going to click over here to this tab called Refinement. We have this handy-dandy mode called Set Nadir. So if you click that and then move your cursor over to your tripod and click on that within the scene, it's automatically going to move that point to the very southern point of your equator. And what we'll do there, that basically helps level the horizon super quickly, so you don't have to worry about trying to get all the adjustments right by clicking and dragging on the screen. Our users have liked using that a lot. It's very fast. We also have a short key here for shifting and using your mouse to adjust the pan of your scene. So if I click that and I use my mouse to drag, I can very easily change the yaw of my scene. And I want to actually be looking at the building right here. And that's what I would like my viewers to be looking at as they enter the scene from within the headset. Over here on the left, we also have some sliders so that you can do much more refined adjustment around the horizon leveling, but using the Nadir tool actually does this really fast for you, and I like just using my mouse to make maybe a small adjustment from there. You'll also notice that the scene feels really washed out right now, and this is a known effect coming out of with footage coming out of the Insta360 Pro. So we've given you some color filters here up on the left to change that. You can say boost the contrast. We have one called punchy or super saturated. But knowing that we see this often coming out of the Insta360 Pro, we've actually created a color filter really specifically for this camera to kind of correct the color, and that gives it a lot more vibrance and saturation that we would expect in our scene. So that basically covers the steps it takes to adjust your horizon and your heading for your scene. We've corrected the color. And so I'm going to go ahead and click up here and say Render Stitch Master. The output can be called anything you want. I'll leave it at Cafe at Winery output. And the Stitch Master will be created in the source asset folder. So that folder I've created with all my sources can be that one grouping for the stitch as well as all the sources in the end. We only support mono footage right now. But in the future, coming later this summer, we'll support stereo as well, and this will be computational stereo done in the cloud. The frame rate I pulled from the sources was 29.97, so that all looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and click render. And I get a message down here at the left that says rendering of Stitched Master has started. I'll head to my library and just check on that. And there it is. Stitching in the same folder as my sources. So this clip is 1 minute and 40 seconds long. It's actually an 8K stitch, so it's going to take a few minutes. It's still a vast improvement over using your desktop power to do all the stitching, so cuts this down from a few minutes, from a few hours to a few minutes, and you can actually parallelize this processing by adjusting all your shots and sending them all off to stitch at the same time. It makes it much quicker to finish a project. So while this is stitching, I'm going to actually show you my finished Cafe encode here. This is the same thing I did earlier, just to show you what the end result looks like. So once it finishes, you'll notice that an encode has been done, and you can go ahead and click play to play this in our web player. And here it is. Here's our stitched 360 scene. And as you can see, the color is a lot more vibrant than it was in the sources. The stitch looks pretty good. I started out facing the building here at the winery. And this is streaming right now, so the quality of the playback will depend on your bandwidth. The other thing you can do if you have more processing to do on your clip is download the video. So I'm going to select this and come over here to the right side and click this download button. And that will save to my desktop. And it's 2.2 gigs. It's going to take a few minutes. The download version of this stitch is going to be the full resolution that the cameras can support. So for the cameras that we talked about earlier, that full resolution is 8K, and that is a pretty large file. A future feature that we're building is to do maybe a proxy download at 2K or 4K, so that it's much easier to handle, and so you don't have to download the full 8K version if you don't want to. So while that's downloading, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can quickly share this with your friends without having to wait for the download. So this was stitched and encoded. As you can see, it was playing back on the web. So what I'm going to do is go into my spins and create a new spin, winery. And the spin is right now really just a collection of videos that you can share with devices anywhere you want. I'm going to add the finished video that I showed you just a moment ago here. I'm going to add that to my playlist, and I'm going to add devices into the spin. And here I already have 3 devices paired to my account. So basically I can easily send my content down to these devices if they have the Spin Play app installed. And all the viewer has to do is, within the Spin Play app, hit refresh, and they will immediately see the stitch theme that I've just made in Spin Studio. So this is super quick for review turns on different scenes and looking to see any stitch errors, or maybe looking to adjust the color, and you really only get that sense for what your viewers are seeing when you're in the headset too. So this is the very fast way that you can really get this content right in the headset. You can stream it, you don't have to download it, and really get a sense of what your story is going to be like as it comes together. I can see that our download is almost done here. We'll just wait a couple more seconds while it finishes that off. Great. And I will show you how it plays back on my machine. So as you can see, this is an 8K video, and it actually doesn't play that well on my little machine, as it might not for many of our creators. You can hear the audio going just fine, but the video is not really moving at all. And so this is, indicative of a lot of the experience that our creators see today that doesn't really, make the creation process very easy. So that's why stitching is really part of the end-to-end flow that we're releasing later this fall. So imagine that you brought in all your clips and you stitched them together, and now you have some mastered videos that you can immediately share using Spin, but you can also drop them into a playlist and then go into a headset and immediately start editing the clips together into a story from there without having to download and open up Premiere Pro or After Effects to do this. So the processing can all be done in the cloud, and you can instead create your stories and your scene cuts right from within the headset, so you know exactly what your viewers are seeing. A little bit more about that, we want to add interactivity to those stories so that you can place hyperports in your scenes and easily allow your viewers to switch from scene to scene in a nonlinear fashion, as well as titles and hotspots, and the ability to adjust kind of the trimming of the scene, maybe in the head or the tail, so that you don't have to start with the part of your video which is someone saying, okay, go. So you can edit your videos, cut them together any way you want once we release our native in-headset editor later this fall, in conjunction with the broader release of the Stitcher. So that about wraps up my walkthrough of stitching a video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to sharing more with you once we release more features. Thanks so much.